We normally do a cafe networking interview on Monday media and a Monday morning. This evening, because of the time zone difference, we're actually going to be doing today's show in the evening, which is why we're live now, 6 o'clock here in the EU, and probably 5 o'clock in the UK, and maybe a little bit early where you are. And my friend today, he's actually coming through 12 o'clock midday. So that should give you a little bit of a clue where he's from. Now, during today's show, this is, guys, is what we would like you to do. Okay, this is what we'd like you to do. So just be aware, there's a subscribe button down there, and just do this. Great. Okay, got that? Good. Now, my guest today, just give you a little bit of build up here. I've known our special guest today, I think, for about, maybe going about 6-7 years, maybe going back a little bit more than that. Andy Mills-Brown is a fantastic guy, so down to earth, so natural. And when you meet him in the street, you just think here is as straight as they come. And also, probably you'll find here is just so down to earth. And yet this guy is such a successful guy. Loads to say about him. I'm not going to go on because otherwise I'll take too much time and I'm missing out the interview. So I might as well just about get on with it. So I'm going to see if Andy's around. I'm going to see if he's there. I'm going to just see, Andy, are you about?
I am.
Ah, there he is. He's at the front door. Andy, hello, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you, Phil.
Thank you for pressing the doorbell. Okay. Great. Okay, so guys, this is an interview we're going to do with you and find out a little bit about how you got to where you are, what skill sets you needed, and what advice you give to people who are starting out, networking, doing different things. How it all works. Andy. What did you do, if you don't mind me asking here? In fact, tell us a little bit about you, what you do, where you're from, and where you are now.
Okay, so my name's Andy. I guess I'm a self-confessed entrepreneur / business junkie. I'm originated from the UK, as you can tell, because I have a very similar accent to you, Phil.
Yep.
I now live in Florida. I live in Orlando. With the growth of one of my businesses, I now live over here in the States, which is the Sunshine State, which I'm not moaning about at all.
It's a wonderful place, isn't it?
It sure is. It's great for business and great for your mental health, and a bit of sunshine doesn't hurt anybody. I own a few businesses, the biggest being an entertainment company. We're entertainment producers and live act booking agency. That's the biggest business I own, which turns over 8 figures now, which is super. Started that about 9 years ago. I also own a gardening company with my son back in the UK. I own an online streaming company with a business partner. I'm a business consultant for various different small businesses, right up to larger C-suite individuals. And believe it or not, I also own an old Victorian mine, a mine in Wales. You couldn't make that up.
I tell you what, that is just amazing. I mean, how do you end up in an old Victorian mine? I mean, but I know we were talking about this a little while ago, and I tell you what, I thought it's absolutely hilarious. You wake up in the morning, and I might even ask how this came about, because I know the story's a little bit of...
No, I'm quite transparently, I was locked out. I was in the UK, so I only actually relocated in January, which you could argue is a strange time to relocate in the middle of a pandemic. But last year, myself and my partner were over in Wales this is when England was open in the summer, and getting a little bit bored and stressed with it. And I had a few to drink one night and realised that we were in Wales, and wouldn't it be lovely to buy a holiday home of some description? And I saw this quite large Victorian mine, and I thought, oh, that's great. We could do that up and turn that into a lovely house. And it's got 6 acres with it. And it was really cheap on the website, comparatively for what it was. And what I hadn't realised is after a few drinks, when you bid on an online auction, it becomes legal. And when I woke up, my lawyer rang me and said, so you're buying a mine then? I was like, well, I put a bid in. And he said, Andy, you do realise that once you put a bid in online, it's legally standing. So I was like, oh, looks like I own a Welsh Victorian mine now then.
That's fantastic. I mean, how many people get those? I mean, that is just awesome. Every one of those.
I mean, consequently, since then, we've now gone through planning permission to turn it into a boutique hotel and all sorts of lovely things. But planning's going through now. But yeah, I think something that I'll probably come on to talk about later about being brave and being bold works both ways. Sometimes you have to live with your braveness and your boldness. Sometimes it works for you, and sometimes it brings you challenges that you weren't quite expecting, but you have to embrace them.
You do have to embrace it. I think that's the most amazing thing, and I think to do this is great. So first of all, let's go back to the entertainment industry. There, how did that come about? Where did this something that you always wanted to do? Where did this come about?
No, not really. I mean, I've been in entertainment for a number of years. So before I started the business, I was a director for Haven Holidays, so part of the Bourne Leisure Group, Haven, Butlins and Warner in the UK. So I was operations director for them. Previous to that, I ran the entertainment for the group. And sadly, one of my best friends committed suicide, who I worked with. And it's sort of very sad times. Sent me on a bit of a different trajectory, bit of a tangent. And I think when you have incidents in your life, whether you lose loved ones or things happen or cancer scares or anything really quite momentous, you decide to give your head a wobble and say, do you know what? I'm on the treadmill. What do I really want to do? So I decided to start an entertainment company. Didn't really have a clue, if I'm honest. I had a clue about entertainment, and I came from a corporate, so I had a bit of decent grounding, and I leapt into it. And I have to say, it's been super successful. COVID aside, which obviously for somebody that owns a live entertainment business, that has been hugely challenging.
Yes.
COVID aside, it's been great, and we've grown, and I've got lots of staff now and lots of super clients and contracts, and I get to live in Florida. So it came about by being a bit brave and bold after the back of a momentous sort of sad occasion for me, and it went really super well.
Fantastic. So COVID, talk about COVID here, because I know for a lot of people, they've really suffered, but I know a lot of people have actually turned their lives around. Do you find that working more online has actually helped your business grow? Do you find that you're working more people online rather than face to face?
Yeah, I think you have to embrace change. I've always been one of those people that can embrace change. I think you're one of two different kinds of people, aren't you? You're a person that loves change and embraces change, and you get out of bed in the morning and you're super excited about what the day may bring, and you leave the past in the past, or you're not one of those people.
Okay.
And I tend to, most of the entrepreneurs at very different success levels, I tend to meet are the more positive people that tend to be able to self-motivate a little bit and get out of bed and understand that today is a great day, it's a different day, yesterday is gone. Yeah. And I think when COVID happened, from a live entertainment perspective, so as a business, we provide shows and acts to cruise lines, holiday resorts, theme parks all across the world. And as you can imagine, I think it was probably March last year, 2020, we probably lost £10 million from the top line revenue in a phone call because everything shut. So that was the day I started smoking again. I've stopped now. I rigged 20 Benton and Hedges and a bottle of Jack Daniels, and that was my evening that night, I tell you.
I think it was, especially to lose 10 million off your revenue just like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, those were dark times, but I think, and everyone has their dark times in business and in personal life. And I got very drunk and smoked cigarettes and enjoyed that tremendously until the next day when I remembered I'd given up 5 years before and my headache was not worth it. And then you sort of, you bring it back together, don't you? And you say, look, I've got a lot of people that work for me. It's my responsibility as their leader to navigate through this. We have to look at what we've got. We have to, belt and braces the entire business. And with my leadership team, we found ways to maneuver, work forward, refinance, shed office buildings we didn't need anymore, change things around, deal with clients. It was challenging, but I think the end goal is always the same. You've got people that work for you, that rely on you to pay their mortgage, to take their kids to school. So I think with a bit of a positive mental attitude, we've come out the other side now. The business is different. I mean, it's a completely different business to what it was a year and a half ago.
I think
without a shadow of a doubt.
I think people agree with you that just about any business they're involved in now is so different compared to what it was.
Yeah.
We're talking just for the interview about Zoom. about working with Zoom and how you interview people online. Does that work? Is that working the same way that it used to? For example, when you have people face to face, we obviously be talking differently. How
Sure.
do people feel about that when they've got to do people perform in front of you on Zoom?
Well, I think in the olden days, I'm talking pre-COVID, I was probably a leader that was very much everyone has to be in the office at 9 till 5. I need to see where everyone is. Um, Old school leader, I guess.
Yes.
COVID happened, and for my work staff force, the head office team, all of a sudden everyone was at home. We didn't use the offices anymore, and I had to really shift my mentality about that was acceptable. And what surprised me, people prefer that, working from home. People have much more freedom. We trust people more. Sorry, I trust people more. I think there was a barrier I needed to overcome, which I have, and it's been super exciting for the business. We now try and instill a sense of, if you want to go to Sainsbury's at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday, then go. And if you're going to make up your time somewhere else in the evening, then make up your time. As long as the job is done, the job is done. And so it's a very different way of working. We revisited everyone's salary packages. Some people had company cars they didn't require. We had office space we didn't require. So from a head office team, we did that, which was challenge number one, challenge to do with Zoom. Challenge number two was, how on earth do you run a live entertainment business when you have auditions for singers and dancers, and then you rehearse people in shows? How do you do that on Zoom? I mean, how do you? So we sat around a table and said, is this even possible? But the answer was, there's no alternative at the moment. Everybody's in lockdown, and we employ people from every kind of EU nation: Spain, Sweden, Greece. We send people out to Spain, Sweden, Greece. Not at the moment, we don't. But we had to rehearse all these people ready for comeback, ready for when resorts open. And I think we have a big contract with a hotel chain, and we've been rehearsing. There was 50, 60 odd people on Zoom. They did 500 hours on Zoom of rehearsals. And I've gotten seen footage of rehearsal directors teaching people dance moves on Zoom. And it worked. I mean, talk about pivot your business, talk about pivot your life. And this is going to the extreme. There were people that were finding business meetings challenging, let alone businesses like mine that had to bring 12 people together to dance together on Zoom from different countries. I mean, it was completely crackers. But you know what? We've got some casts live now in some countries, and they did most of their rehearsal on Zoom, and it worked. And I think the key to it was embracing it, and from a leadership perspective, saying, look, we don't have a choice. This is going to work. So if it's going to work, we need to make it work, and we need to look at all the positives and pretty much just say yes and work out how to do it later.
I tell you what, it's an incredible story, because I know so many people who have really, as you said, just grasped with it, gone through the pivot of change, as we were talking earlier, and taken their businesses from where they were to where they are now. And I know loads of them are very successful. They're doing very, very well. I know that Cafe Networking, because the fact here that we're now working more online, it's great, because rather than working locally, and you may have an audience or participants of, say, 20 people, you can go and work globally and have 2,000 people who want to watch in and to see what you're doing. I think it's a massive thing, massive change. So when you talk about the change that you're going through, just making some notes and how we went through this, did you feel now that there's more support out there for people who are actually taking their work online or doing change here? Because you were saying earlier that you felt there was a lot more support for people.
Yeah, I think again, everything as an entrepreneur, if the audience for this forum is talking about starting up your business or branching out or growing, then I think the first most important thing is about your mentality behind it. If you think you're going to succeed, you likely will. If you think you're not, you likely won't. So I think before you talk about what support is available and what you're going to do, if you think you're going to make it happen, it will happen. Take action. Brilliant. Away you go. But I think the caveat to that is, if you doubt it or don't think it's going to work, it won't. There are challenges where you have to say to yourself, I don't know how this is going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. Now that's different to I'm not brave enough to make it happen. And I think the caveat to that also, I speak to a lot of founders and entrepreneurs and people that are starting to build businesses, if you're not prepared, as an example, to remortgage your house for your new business, it probably won't succeed. Because I had to do that at the beginning, and I've had to remortgage what I own a number of times to satisfy bank this or bank that or grow the business. And that starts off with most people I meet, if they're not prepared to delve into their savings, or they're not prepared to remortgage their house, then their business probably isn't going to work because they don't have enough faith in themselves to make it happen. So
yeah,
I hear a lot of people say the bank won't help me. The bank will always help you if you help the bank help yourself. So as an example, I mean, I had to borrow just over £1 million last April for one of our businesses from NatWest on a CBILS loan, which was the government-backed loan over 5 years. Now, the bank wanted me to put my hand in my pocket too. I did. I remortgaged their property because I get it. Why would they help me if I'm not prepared to help myself? And actually, it drives you more to be determined to make it build. So support is absolutely there in every corner. However, support isn't there for people that aren't ready to support themselves too. You know, I remember borrowing money from parents and friends, and I remember 3 or 4 years ago at one point having over 100 grand on personal credit cards, thinking, Jesus, what is going on today? Now, it is, but that's cash flow. You know, a small business comes up against cash flow and you have to find ways. So it's about being brave and bold in the decisions you make, but about in how you believe in yourself. And furthermore, I meet a lot of people that are brave and bold when they talk, but don't take any action. Or they say to me, oh, I had that idea 5 years ago. And you think, well, you missed the boat then. You need to take action. So yeah, there's support out there with banks, cheap money at the moment. So if you go to any bank and you've got a decent business plan, it all starts with a plan. Everything has to have a plan. You know, you might not know how you're going to actually get to the end game of the plan, but it has to have a plan. It has to have a start and a middle and an end. So you have to have a plan. But if you go to any bank or any financial institution, at the moment, money is cheap. People are looking to support business. Money is cheap. There's a lot of, it's true to say that in a pandemic, the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Now, I don't necessarily agree 100% with that, but there are people out there that aren't spending money. There are lots of wealthy people, lots of wealthy investors that want to back a good return. But the return doesn't have to be definitive. The return just has to be in that person. I've borrowed money from lots of my rich friends in the past based on the fact that I'm pretty confident about how I'm going to deliver it. Yeah. Now, there are some things I'm not confident about when I can pay it back. Or how I'm exactly going to pay it back, but they'll tend to, as an entrepreneur, people tend to invest in you. They'll look at the business plan. There needs to be some foundation on that. There needs to be a business model wrapped into it and some understanding of what you're doing in the marketplace. Is there a requirement for it? But 9 times out of 10, people will back you as an individual. They'll say, I have faith in you that you're going to deliver this and you're going to bring it to fruition. And that's where my 3% or my 5% or sometimes at the extreme, my 10% interest on my investment is going to come from. So there is support. You need to find it and you need to have faith in yourself to deliver it.
I think that's one of the biggest things we shout out to people is if you're going to start this, just have faith in yourself and what you're doing. And a lot of people, they just need, do you find that you're mentoring people to have that confidence in themselves?
Yeah, all the time. And I think, you know, you don't, Richard Branson once said, I mean, I read all sorts of books and I watch avidly with interest all sorts of entrepreneurs. Richard Branson once said, just say yes and work out how to do it later, which is so true. And, you know, I do that. Yes. Yeah, and it was he did a big thing about it. And he just basically said, just say yes to everything for your clients and then just work out how to do it later. And we laughed quite often. I mean, there are some contracts we've won and, you know, at the beginning of the contract when we're pitching to the client, I'm not sure how the hell we're going to deliver what we're talking about. And we make a great presentation, myself and my leadership team. And then there are times we've walked out the door and gone, shit, how are we actually going to deliver that? Yeah. But we've won the pitch on the back of the confidence and the self-confidence and the belief and the fact that we also don't lie about what we do. So, you know, confidence is one thing, lying about ability is another. Yeah. You know, and you'll soon get found out if you lie about what you can and can't do. But having confidence and overinflating confidence is not such a bad thing. You need to give faith to your clients and your end user that you're going to be delivering what they want. So yeah, I think I always talk to my leadership team and our further teams about confidence and about having the level of confidence that is just enough to get you over the line, but doesn't become narcissistic and doesn't become I know all. And also every day, and I say this to myself all the time, every day is a learning day. You know, every day you get opportunities presented to yourself and you think, my God, I should have done that differently, or I could have done that differently. And I say to lots of my team, I make mistakes every day. You know, because I happen to be a wealthy man now, it's not because I've done things right. It's because I've learned from the things I've done wrong.
Right.
And the amount of times I've had to revisit things a number of times. I've had to apologize. I've had to go back and revisit things. I've had to go, oh, do you know what? That was the wrong decision. And I think it makes you a stronger leader when you realize you don't know half of what you think you know. And it sometimes takes some of the simplest and most fabulous people in your life, and they can be kids sometimes or teenagers that say something to you and you're like, yeah, that's so true. I don't know why I didn't think of that. So it's about having that humility with yourself as well, to say, I'm going to be confident and brave, but always open to being questioned by anybody.
And do you know what I really think with this as well? I think it's right what you're saying, especially when you said here, like Richard Branson said, and as you're saying here, because I bet so many people, when they said here that they felt they've got to get the groundwork absolutely perfect before they go anywhere. They're spending hundreds and thousands and or whatever the value is before they go anywhere. And then when they start going somewhere, you can see what's going to happen. Where if you just start and progress as you go along, you'll find that whatever you're doing changes anyway.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting, because I own a wide range of businesses. So business in the arts, and then a garden landscape business, and then a streaming business, and then the Victorian mind that we don't talk about. And I think they all have one similar thing in common. You need a blend down the middle of the operating side of the business and the creative side of the business.
Yeah.
And I think you quite often find that leaders, myself included, will land in one camp or another. And spend a bit too much time in one camp or another. So I'm naturally an operator. So my natural operations would be to say, this is how we're going to do this, and that's what I think. But my natural tendency to do that precludes sometimes the creativity required to make or get a product that somebody wants to buy. So as an example, in the entertainment business, we have to really listen to our fabulous creative team, because unless we come up with a creative concept that someone wants to buy,
yes,
the operators aren't going to operate it anyway.
Yes.
Because there's no operations to be done.
Yeah.
So it's about blend. And exactly to your point, people spend too much time either doing the operating function of this website's got to be perfect, or I've got to have all the banks set up, or I've got to have this person, I've got to have that. And actually that's irrelevant, because if you've not got the product to sell, you're not going to be operating anything anyway.
Nope.
And if you're too much of an operator, you don't listen to the innovation that your innovators are coming up with. So there, your business gets stale and you end up going nowhere anyway. So it's about being out of your comfort zone enough to be able to rely on other people around you to say, this is the operations, this is the creative. It needs to blend together. Somewhere in the middle is that sweet spot. And you're right, you've just got to go for it. You've got to be brave and bold, and you've got to... I've been in pitches with people, client pitches, and operators in client pitches, when you're an operator, get too involved in the depth of how this might work and how that might work. The client doesn't really want to know that at that stage. They want to know why it's you as a company, why it's you as an individual, and what it is you're going to give them. They don't really need to know the nuances of the operations. Also, they don't really want to know the nuances of the creative side. They just want to say, this is the package. And that's about blending the two together and trying to pitch at a level that's exciting and engages them, and makes them feel safe and secure that you've got the knowledge to do it. So for me, it's been a super fascinating past 10 years of learning that you need all of those bits and pieces. But to your point, exactly right. Don't get bogged down in the detail, because I've also got 3 or 4 companies that have completely failed. But you have to embrace that too. And I'm glad I didn't spend hundreds of thousands of pounds, or even tens of thousands, or even thousands on them. I mean, one of them was just a website and an idea, and it didn't work. Great. So I lost about 100 quid. But had I spent months and months of detail behind it, I would have got to the end point and realized the product nobody wants to buy anyway. So what's the bloody point?
No.
So you're right. It's about market testing and research. And a lot of people I meet also have got a great idea, they think. But is there a market there? Who actually wants that market? So the first thing, who's going to buy this? Who's actually going to buy this?
You're stepping on, I tell you what, you're stepping on a very big territory there. I've been having conversations with people, is they think they've got a great idea, but do the customers know exactly what you're on about? Do they know? Do they understand it? Yes.
Yeah, does the customer want it? I mean, you need
Yeah.
to go to market test. You need to do some market research and test it. And when I say market research, I don't mean your mum, your dad, your brother, your sister, your auntie, and Nana Flo, because Nana Flo is going to love whatever you do anyway.
Of course,
Because
she can
Nana's
see that you're blinding.
yes.
Oh, you're being
A lot of as I meet have asked all their family and their friends, who of course think it's a wonderful idea, because that's what friends and family are there for. Now, ask your friends and family, they'll put $2,000 in each. Then you'll find out if they think it's a good idea.
Yes, they got. Oh, how much? Yeah.
Well, let me just go back to that. So it's about, you either ask people outside of your comfort zone for their real honest opinion, or you ask your nana, your auntie, your mum, your dad for $2,000 each and see them what they think about your idea, because that'll give you a better indication whether they think it's a marketable product or service.
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting there what you're saying there, because you get people talking about their subject. They become the experts in their subject, but it sounds like they're just talking to themselves because no one understands what they're on about, because it's such technical jargon. It's like going, that's the way I say it. So it's like going into a computer shop. Say I want to buy a computer. Oh, yes, of course you want this one. It's got 2 mega chips. It's got the hard drivers, does so many terabytes. It's got a large screen. It's got this amazing Radeon screen that comes behind it. It's got a beautiful case. And really, all you'll know is what you want it for.
And that's exactly, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Do you have something that somebody wants? And also, the biggest thing I've learned is business at any level, corporate level, local level, small level, is done with people because they like people. Business is just people, as all business is. You know, you can take away the balance sheet, you can take away the profit and loss, you can take away the loan, the business plan, you can take away all of it. It's just people. If someone don't like you, they won't work with you.
No.
End of. You know, if you've got a product, your product can be amazing. However, if they don't really like you or they don't feel the vibe, they'll just be like, oh no, thanks. No different to any, you know, people will go to their favorite barmaid because they like her. They can still go to any barmaid and get the same drink, but they go to a specific place or a bar because they like it. They feel the vibe. They like the people. And you've got to build that into your business ethos. You know, people either like working with you, the company, or they don't. And you also have to accept that some people, I've got a lot of people who don't like me. That's also fine. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. You have to accept that and move on and not be fazed by that and just go, I accept that. You know, some people are my kind of people in my tribe. Some people are nowhere near my tribe. And that's fine too. They'll find their own tribe. But that knocks your self-confidence. I think when you get a few no's at the beginning, you need to just go, do you know what? It's fine. They're just not my kind of people. We're not a match. Let's find people that are a match.
That's exactly how I feel about it. Exactly how I feel about it. I think if you find your match there, you find the great people. And it's interesting what you're saying there, because the amount of people I've met, very successful lady I know, she used to work for German manufacturers selling cars. And she liked it, but she then got this offer to go and work for another German manufacturer selling cars. So she did. She changed. The old people that she's selling cars to, she was a hot shot on customer service. And they all came back to the previous one and said, oh, good, we've come back to go and see this particular lady. They said, sorry, she's gone. They immediately contacted her and said, where are you? Said, oh, I'm now working for this other manufacturer. Right, we're on our way over. So they changed their cars because they liked the lady.
Absolutely. And I think
it is
the other thing
likability.
The other thing I've learned is transparency. So certainly over here in the States, I mean, it does help that I've got an English accent and blue eyes. That's a little giveaway about working in the States. They do like the royal family.
Do you extenuate the English accent?
Absolutely. Over here, they actually, probably the 2 biggest things I get asked in the States when I'm in meetings is, what do I think about Meghan Markle? And can you say aluminum? Because obviously that's probably the 2 biggest things. But again, that's part of the natural rapport. You get to know people and they like it, and it's about. But the other thing I've learned is transparency is key. So I've sat in some really big meetings with some big players, and been asked questions at pitch level where they will say, you know, brilliant. Do you do stuff wrong? And I'm the first person to say, yeah, I make probably 5 mistakes every day or decisions that weren't the best. But it's how you come back from that. You know, as a business, and all of our businesses, people make mistakes. We're all human. You know, we make errors. We do things wrong. And I think it's about instilling a culture that accepts that, and that none of us are perfect. But the client, all the client really wants to know is that you're going to put that right. And you're going to make sure that, you know, A, it doesn't happen again, or B, it's put right. And actually, I've found that over the years in business, people just like the transparency of, yeah, we get things wrong. You know, we do, because we're just humans, and sometimes we make the wrong call, sometimes we send the wrong thing, sometimes we do the wrong, we say the wrong thing in a meeting. But as long as you can come back from that and be super transparent, that's also, but that's again what you're saying to your point about people will want to work with people, and it's about what your values are. You know, if you've got decent values as a good human being, and you're not ripping off people, and that you want to do the best by your team and your staff and your client, people can feel that. People aren't really stupid, you know, when you're trying to sell things. If you're monotonal and you're just there in a pitch and it's verbatim read off a script, people just don't want to work with you really, because they don't feel your passion. And one of our biggest keys in our business, we try and recruit, certainly for our head office roles and our functional roles, for passion rather than skill, because you can train skill. It's slightly different with singing and dancing, because that takes years and years to perfect. But when you're talking about office jobs or people in accounts or people that are leaders or managers, lots of my people come through the ranks. That's because we've taken on people that are passionate about what they're doing and passionate in their role, and we can support their skill. They don't have to have the skill at day one. In fact, if they have got the skill at day one, you question why they're leaving their previous employer. So I'd rather always take on. I mean, I got many years ago when I was young, I was sponsored to do a degree, a BSc in management at the London School of Economics. Yes. And I was sponsored by Coca-Cola, of all companies. It was in the Daily Mail 100 years ago. And I did 6 months and I hated it. It's the worst thing ever. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still obviously at the appropriate time mention that I went to the London School of Economics. Sometimes I then have to mention that I left 6 months later because I hated it. And I'm very much more of the school of application rather than education. You know, I think you can.
Yes, that's a very interesting comment about it. A friend of mine, Sunil Bali, he's an entrepreneur. He's also a psychotherapist, and he goes into lots of companies to go and help turn them around. And he got the great opportunity. It was in America to go to Harvard to go and do a business degree, whatever they want to call it over there. And the chap who's holding a lecture stood up and said, well, he said, if you lot need to be here, then I suggest, then may I say here that I think you lot are the biggest failures going. They all looked at each other. He said here, because if you haven't got an ounce of creativity, if you've got creativity here, you don't need to be here. He said,
I think you're right. And I think that
he took straight away. And he says, the rest of it was just time and the work going through at Harvard. But he listened to that instructor. He said, it's got to be down to be your creativity. And we all know the professors and all the different people out there who have talked about creativity and the imagination being a bigger thing than just intelligence.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, when I looked for mentors and coaches for me personally, when I was starting to grow the biggest business, I got a bit bored of people that were. There's a lot of, I won't say any of their names, but there's a lot of coaching systems out there. There's a lot of people that profess to be business coaches. Nothing wrong with that. You know, I'm not slurring some of them for what they do. However, they've learned what they're coaching from like a pyramid sales coaching scheme, essentially. You know, so there's a number of them. And they sit there, and I signed up to one, and there was some valuable takeaways, you know, some processes that weren't in place in my organization. I thought that's a really valuable process. But at the end of the day, if you're looking for a business coach and a mentor, you need to speak to someone who's done it, you know. And not that it's a plug, because it's not, because I'm actually too busy, but if people look at my website, andymillsbrown.com, I, a number of years, started that out. And I'm not looking for business because I'm actually too busy, but you just look at it if you'd like to. And I write a bit on there about that. You need to know that you're being mentored by someone that actually knows what they're talking about, success or failure. Yeah. Because actually you learn more from the failures than you do from the successes, if I'm honest, because it's difficult to replicate success, and you don't want to replicate failure. So some people that have failed as entrepreneurs are actually the best people to talk to as well, because they'll be the first people that say to you, oh my God, don't remortgage your house unless you've got a solid business plan. Don't do this, don't do that, do this. So ultimately, these people that work for these organizations that are coaches, they're great, but most of them have taken it from a textbook and have no clue what it's like to physically sit there and go, shit, I need 25 grand. I've got no cash flow. Where am I going to get that from? Because you ring them up and they'll be like, well, I don't know. And you're like, well, that's not going to help me when I need to pay my bills tomorrow and I've got this. And, you know, it's the more creative people that have done it before that would say, have you thought about your friends? Have you thought about a credit card? Do your overdraft with this, do that. Have you thought about invoice factoring? Have you gone to your client and said, if I give you 5% off, will you pay the bill earlier? All sorts of things I've learned from other people who have been in the business, you know, and you can go to big corporate clients who tend to pay slowly and say, we've got a difficulty with cash flow at the moment. The business is sound. But if I was to give you 2.5% off the bill, will you pay it tomorrow? The amount of times they've said yes, they save 2.5% and they pay it tomorrow. Yeah. And there's your cash flow issue solved. But that doesn't come from textbook coaching. That comes from living in the real world, having a glass of wine at night, going, oh my God, it's going hideously wrong. What am I going to do? And then realizing that the world is fine. You just have to take your, oh my God, shit hat off and put your, right, let's operationally work this through, talk to some friends. And it becomes, actually, the more you do, it becomes fun. Every challenge becomes a bit of an opportunity to grow as an individual. And you go, okay, where am I going to grow? How am I going to grow? Who do I know that might be in a great place? Yes. And that person that went bankrupt 3 times might actually be the best person to speak to, because you don't want to end up there. And they'll usually freely say, oh, Andy, these are the things I massively shouldn't have done. And you put them up there and you go, brilliant. I'll do that. So yeah, I think it's about just soaking it all up from all of the people, but not necessarily the people you find that represent coaching pyramid schemes that will charge you a lot of money. That's when you need process, but not when you really need to get going.
Okay, I think that's a big thing as there as well, because a lot of people I talk to when they're coming and they start dealing with problems is they keep it all in here, and it goes round and around like the washing machine, and of course it gets bigger. Problems appear to get bigger. But as you say there, I think the biggest thing to go and do is talk to people. Talk to people.
And there'll be loads of people, but it's about not talking to your inner circle, because your inner circle will always side with you. They'll always say things like, well, it's just outrageous that they're doing that to you as a client. And you're like, and that just winds you up even more in the end. And you're like, oh yeah, just actually go outside of your comfort zone, speak to people that will give you some advice about something else, you know, or give it a completely neutral view. And those are the people you want to speak to.
Okay, brilliant. Now, a couple more questions here is how do you when you think about anxiety and things, is people suffering anxiety and stress, and is that part of a factor that you think is needed or is to be aware of? Well, how do you work with that?
Anxiety, stress, mental health. I mean, I think certainly with the pandemic, it's come more to a front, which is great. I have always struggled with my mental health. Even when I was a director at a corporate I didn't own, I struggled with my mental health. Anxiety has always been there. I think the best thing you can do is accept that you struggle with your mental health. It's not a failure. And in fact, actually, it's probably been the making of me, because I've had a lot of counseling with some super people. I've really fronted on some of the issues I had from the past. I think it's one of those things, it's accepting yourself for who you are. Most good people I know, a lot of entrepreneurs I know really struggle with their mental health, whether they're brave enough to say that or not. A number of years ago, I took the view that I was just going to be super honest with all of my workforce and our leadership team and say, look, you know, there's times that I've been on Valium, there's times I've been on all sorts of prescribed pills for depression. You work through those times. It doesn't make me any less of a leader, doesn't make me any less of a passionate person. It just means actually you have another obstacle to overcome. But if you look at it a little bit like, if you're strong enough to come through mental health, you're really good and strong enough to run a business, and a very successful one. So I see it as a bit of a feather in my cap that I can talk quite freely about mental health. And I encourage all of our guys at work to say, look, mental health is part of life. Life is too stressful as it is. You're supposed to look like Instagram people. I'm supposed to have a beach body. I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to do that. I'm supposed to wear that perfume. I'm supposed to wear these clothes. I'm supposed to drive that car. I'm supposed to have this amount of friends on Facebook. I'm supposed to be on TikTok. Why am I not on TikTok? Why am I not on Instagram? Why am I not posting on this? I mean, it's never ending. Yeah. It really is. The social media thing. And you get to a point where you go, do you know what, right, let's get it back down to basics. I know who I am as a human being. I know that these are my triggers for anxiety.
Yep.
And I still have Valium in the cupboard. I don't take it very often anymore, fortunately, because you learn coping mechanisms, you speak to people, you read things, you go to counselling. And I think part of being a really good and honest and transparent leader is you have to do that with yourself first. You have to go, look, these are my triggers. These are my blocking points. These are the things I need to work through. And I suddenly found, as soon as I opened up to my team of people about mental health and the struggles around it, people were like, yeah, me too. And you're like, wow. So now we offer a free counselling. We now as a statutory thing for anybody that works in my business in a full-time job, we have up to 12 weeks counselling for free that we pay for as a business to try and help people through difficult times. And people have been for bereavement or just general anxiety, and some people need 3, some people need 6, some people need 12. I mean, it set me free counselling. People look down on counselling, which I think is a very poor decision.
No, I think yes, there's a poor decision. Yes, I agree.
So yeah, I think it's about being really honest with yourself and about saying, look, it's part of life. And the more people I meet, the more I know that mental health is part of life. You know, we're coming out of a pandemic now, and there are people everywhere that are struggling. You know, people have been locked up in their houses for 12 months. You know, it's tough, but I think you have to get under the skin of it now. And there's so much more support out there for mental health, and it's not a stigma anymore. And if it is a stigma in your own head, then it's only in your own head that it's a stigma.
It's interesting you say about mental health, but the moment you say you're stressed, that's it. You're considered as a label of mental health. But mental health, I agree with you. I think the stigmatism is completely, that's gone. People now want to talk about this because sometimes we need a little bit of stress, don't we, to push us as a motor behind us to push us forward. Yeah, we've got no driver there, and some of what their driver is. Yes, you got loads of positivity, but somewhere there's going to be some stress. But you can actually use that as a good thing.
Oh, absolutely. You need a reason to get out of bed. You know, you need a reason to be driven a bit. And it's just, and you know, some days I have horrific days of stress, and I just get to the end of it and think, oh my God, what the hell am I doing? And then the following day, I mean, literally the following day can be the best day ever. You get a big contract win, some of your staff get promoted, and you're like, I love my life.
Yes.
And then you're like, but yesterday I hated my life. But you have to take the clear view that it's a balance across the year, it's a balance across the month, it's a balance across the day sometimes. And you just have to embrace it and be a little bit more accepting the fact that you're going to have great days and you're going to have bad days. And that's but if you didn't have the lows, you wouldn't appreciate the highs.
No.
I
agree. I think you've got to take it like that, because I think even those low days, you've got to find something and say, right, come on now. Either you know tomorrow's going to be a better day, or there's going to be something that you look forward to this evening, or something that's going to change it around a little bit, or you're going to chat to someone who's going to make you laugh.
Absolutely. I mean, laughter is the best form of medicine, I think. And we've all got friends that make us laugh. But I think also I've learned over the past 10 years, you have to be selective with your network of friends and close people. We've all had those people in our life that are drainers. I've got rid of them. And I was very transparent with a couple of people, that conversation. And, you know, one was only about 2 years ago. I just said, look, you know, as a human being, I think you're great. Me and you don't work as human beings together. You drag me down. I can't afford to do that for my mental health. I love you, will always love you, but I can't speak to you ever again. And I know that sounds really harsh, but you know, you have to look after yourself. And we've all got those people that drain you for emotion, drain you for cash, drain you for, there's a number of things you can be drained for, and they never top up the reserves. You know, they never give you the cash back. They never give you the love back. They never give you the energy back. And you need to balance out your core surroundings with good people that take out and put back in. You know, it's like a bank, isn't it? It's the bank of values and the bank of emotions. And you want your friends to rely on you when they're having a bad time, but you need those friends to help you when you're having a bad time. And so I think it was Oprah Winfrey once said, you owe it to yourself more than anyone else to get rid of people out of your life. And it's hard, but I've done that, and I did, and it's important you do that.
Yes, I think that's a big thing, and sometimes to be very honest with yourself, it's saying, I know it's going to hurt. I know the other person's going to be upset. You can't hang on to guilt, because you know in the long run, if you do hang on to guilt, you're being pulled down here.
Yeah,
Sarah
absolutely.
says, absolutely love the honesty, which is lovely. That's great. Thank you very much, Sarah. Brilliant. Yes.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yes. Now, Andy, you get up in the morning. What makes you get out of bed in the morning? What makes you think, right, today? What is it?
Do you know, that's so interesting. I think years ago, I would have said my alarm clock. would have been the answer. What makes you get out of bed? My alarm clock years ago would have been that. Now it's just the love of what I do. And it's got zero to do with money anymore. It's got zero to do with, it's got nothing to do with materialism. So it's not actually about the fact that I live in America. It's not about the fact that there's some money in the bank. It's not about any of that. It's about the fact that I genuinely love what I do for the people I work with more often. You know, there's no better buzz than seeing people in your own team do well or succeed their own expectations of what they're doing. And to be able to promote people and give people a few more pennies in their wages, those sort of things are why you get up, because you know that you're building a legacy to an extent, something that's worth it, something that's good. We do a lot of charity work. We time with a lot of charities, and I absolutely love the fact that we've built businesses as a team of people that can give back to charity, that can give, and not just financially, but in terms of our time. And so I think you get to a stage in life, certainly where I've got to, where you enjoy so much what you do. It's about the humanity of it. It's about, what am I doing that's going to build a legacy, not just a legacy for me or my family, but a legacy for the people that I lead, their families and their kids, and their, you know, they want to see their parents happy at work, you know, and they want to be inspired by that. And I think having that culture and leaving a legacy where everybody is doing well at every single level in your business, that's where I really enjoy operating now. You know, we have leadership team meetings about what we're doing that can motivate some of our junior workers. Yeah. And it's not about money. In fact, it's never about money. It's usually about, what can we do? Should we be looking at private healthcare so that people's families are taken care of, so that takes that stress off of them? Should we be looking at incentives where people meet up and networking? And the other challenge, which is off the back of the pandemic, because most of our teams used to have a lot of face-to-face, now they haven't for a year. So now we're physically having to go the other way and go, we need to build in some times when the world is open, that everyone does get together and actually has that human contact. Because I think Zoom is great, but by the same token, we're all human beings. We need contact. We need to shake hands. We need to hug people. We need to kiss people. That's what we are as humans. So I think it's being able to be involved in my business. I'm also at that stage where I'm super lucky that I've got leaders in all of my businesses. I can probably step out of all of them and know that there's brilliant people running that are cleverer than me. And years ago, one of my bosses said to me, you know, I need to employ people that are cleverer than me. And I always thought, well, that's a bit weird. But he's so right. You don't move forward. You don't move forward. I mean, I sit in this very privileged position, chiefly and primarily because I've got some bloody wonderful people that work for me that do an amazing job. You know, they make decisions every day that some I'm aware of and some I'm not. But I'm in a lucky place where I have been able to empower them and they empower me back. And every day I see an email or something happens on the phone, I think, wow, that's better than I would have done. A better job than I would have done. So I feel pleased and proud for them that we've got a culture of, you know, I want my chief operating officer to be me. I want him to want my job. I want everyone to want someone else's job, not because of the title, because of the passion and the growth and the what's next in my life, you know. But we also very openly say to people in our organization, if our business is not for you, it's not for you. And there's no hard feelings, you know. Everyone's got one chance in life. And you have to make the decision that's right for you. So we actively say to people, you know, if it's not right for you, great, do something that is. You know, there's no hard feelings. By the same token, though, we also won't accept people that aren't putting their weight. Then we make the decision that's not right for them as well.
I think that's very interesting there. And I think the whole concept there of seeing people better than you and making their decisions and not holding it to jealousy and not holding that, oh God, I feel it to envy, but to actually learn.
Oh, yeah, I learned. And some of
you're going to grow.
Yeah, and some of our most junior people, you know, and my leadership team would agree, we've sat in meetings and just gone, why the hell didn't we think of that? You know, and this is from junior people. But what you have to do is allow that open exchange of communication from the junior right up to the senior in the business. A lot of businesses don't do that. They have a sort of a pyramid style that is, you know, I know that everybody in every business I own can email me and they'd get a response. And they know that too. Because otherwise you just cut yourself off from the real grassroots creativity of what your clients want and what your employees at every level are feeling and thinking. So it's a challenge in itself as a leader to make sure you haven't forgotten why you started and why your success is. And the success is not down to me. The success is down to every single person at every level in every business I have, because I couldn't do any of this on my own. In fact, I couldn't do most of it on my own. In fact, some of it I've not had the skill set to do at all, if I'm absolutely honest. So, but I think to your point, what gets me out of bed every day is the fact that people, humanity, and I just enjoy working with so many different kinds of people and listening and helping them support and overcome their own individual or work related challenges.
And I think as well, I think the most loveliest comments you make there is, and I agree with this, because I think this is what's going to motivate, it's what's going to make people successful, is you don't get out of bed thinking money. You get out of bed thinking, I love people. I love people. That's the way I work. And I think that's awesome. And it's a great comment to make, a great observation to make. That if you focus,
I never thought I'd be in the position I am financially, never ever in my life. But let me tell you this: it was never my goal to make money. My goal was to set up a successful. First of all, it's to set up a successful entertainment company, and that happened. The money just comes later. It's just so true. When you're not, everyone's money focused to an extent. You got to pay your mortgage, you got to pay your finance, you got to pay your credit card bill off. You know, you've spent too much down at Sainsbury's, and you think, oh, I probably shouldn't have bought 5 litres of vodka. You get my point. Everyone's got to pay their bills. Yeah. But actually, if you're passionate about what you do and you love it, it just comes, and you find yourself going, oh, brilliant. But that can't be your driver. If money is your driver, you are unlikely to make money unless you are super ruthless. And if you are super ruthless, clients won't want to work with you, so the money will stop.
And the love of it probably won't be very nice. Yes, I totally agree with you. Andy, this has been an exceptional interview. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're very welcome.
I know when the guys come back to watch the replay of this, because I know a lot of people out there have already messaged me saying that they can't watch it now, but I'm sure they will do. But guys, thank you so much for everyone joining in. And Andy, we're going to say thank you so much, sir, for coming all the way across here in America, and fantastic. And I wish you every success in what you're doing. I'm sure we'll catch up again soon. As all people want to probably ask you questions, and I'll send them on to you, or at least we can maybe chat some.
Well, hey, look, for anybody, like I said, I'm not taking on any more clients at the moment because I'm super busy, but andymillsbrown.com, there's my contact details through there. I'm happy to answer any quick questions to anybody. Absolutely. I mean, I am not where I am in life without being helped by lots of tremendously fantastic people. So if I can extend that help to anybody else, of course. I can't take any more clients at the moment, but happy to help. Any quick emails, andymillsbrown.com, just email me through there.
Andy, thank you so much. Have a fabulous afternoon over there. And you take care. We'll catch up with you very soon. In the meantime, thank you so much. Take care, Andy. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Phil. Goodbye.